Ah! What's up everyone, I'm the CloakingDonkey and it's time for me to tell you a little bit more about Cloud Pirates. I did a short rundown on all the classes during my What is Cloud Pirates and Why Should You Care video, but I thought it'd be a good idea to go through all the different classes of ship that were available in the last beta test and just give you an idea of what exactly all of these classes can do and why I thought the game was so interesting because of the class diversity. And so let's start with the battleships. The battleships are definitely the toughest ships in the game. They have the most hit points and the most shields. And more importantly, they have the most directional shields. Shields are a little bit different depending on class. Some classes have just one set of shields that goes all around the ship, meaning no matter from which direction they are shot at, they will lose all of their shields, and so turning won't really make a difference, you're still going to take hull damage. This is mostly the case for the light ships, such as the torpedo clippers and the support ships, whereas heavier ships start having directional shields. And the battleship has 3 sets of directional shields. Next, you also have amazing firepower in a battleship. The battleship broadside weaponry and the bow weaponry are very high damage. Generally, they don't do much more DPS than other ships, but they have a lot of alpha damage, a lot of instant burst damage in a single salvo. As you can see in the footage here, a single broadside salvo does somewhere around 700 to 800 damage, and that is pretty much unique across the game. But this also comes with disadvantages, of course. It's very unwieldy. If you miss, you missed quite a lot of damage right away, whereas in other ships, missing isn't as big of a deal. You have a long reload time, and that also kind of explains your low DPS. And to really bring all of that damage that you want to bring, you kind of have to keep all of your batteries firing, which means you have to turn left and right a lot. And turning left and right during combat slows you down quite significantly, which often means that you're practically stationary while fighting enemies, and that makes you a much easier target. And speaking of, this is obviously the big disadvantage of the battleships. They are incredibly unwieldy, and only when you can really manage to keep both of your broadsides and your bow weaponry firing and on cooldown, that's when you do a lot of damage. If you can't do that because people are harassing you or flying around you too much or evading you or taking out your engines, then there really isn't as much you can do. Generally in a battleship, the times when you get your butt kicked is when somebody either takes out your engines or your helm. When your engines are taken out, you can still maneuver left and right a little bit, but not nearly as good, and you can't move forward at all. When your helm is taken out, you basically fly in a circle, which is pretty terrible if you're trying to bring all your weapons to bear. The other disadvantage is, of course, that your weapons are all pretty much medium to short range. Now, the actual range of the weaponry is pretty far, but because of the spread of your weaponry and because of the slow projectile movement speed, it is very difficult to hit ships at long ranges, especially if they are smaller and faster ships. And this makes you always want to get into combat and into the thick of things, and that does also leave you vulnerable to ships that can outmaneuver you. So you really always want to have some smaller support ships flanking you, making sure that you don't get outflanked and have a tiny little torpedo clipper on your butt that constantly destroys your engine, because that basically can take you out by itself. Now when it comes to modules, the battleships generally have more defensive modules. My loadout here is a warp jump that can jump me across a medium distance. It's not the longest warp jump in the game. The cruisers generally have those. And the disadvantage with the battleship jumps is also that they are much longer cast time, whereas cruisers can jump in pretty much 1 second to 2 seconds. And that obviously makes cruisers a lot more maneuverable, and it gives the opponent more time to kill you before you can actually jump away. The other 2 modules I picked are some of the only damage modules that you have as a battleship. The second one is one that you just activate, and then all of your weaponry has a chance to do extra fire damage. This is really good when you can only burst into someone with 1 salvo and they then disappear behind a mountain range or something, because then they will still take damage every couple of seconds. and on lighter ships that can already spell their doom. There is another module that you can choose in this slot that basically adds a chance for all of your shots to slow the target down. Personally, I found I liked the fire module more. I just wanted to do more damage, as in my opinion that's kind of the specialty of the battleships. If I want to slow people down, I'll play a cruiser or an engineering ship, but we'll get to those. The third module I picked are the swarming missiles. The great thing about these is that they are tracking. So once you have locked onto an enemy target, and then you just hit that button and those missiles will find their target unless they jump away, because the missiles have a maximum range. These swarming missiles are perfect for taking out very light ships. So for example, torpedo clippers and support ships. Their advantage is that they are very fast. So when you can skip that advantage of having to hit them with, homing missiles, then that's what you really should go for. You can, of course, just use them as extra DPS on any target that you're engaging, but it is a very, very good module to have. Beyond that, you really have mostly modules that restore your hull hit points, some modules that make your shields better, but I found these to be the most interesting loadout, at least at the moment. This is the sort of area where most is going to change through balancing. If it's found that the battleships are too powerful with the swarmer missiles, or if it's found that the fire or the ice module is too powerful, then those will of course change over time. Alright, that's pretty much everything for my little battleship overview. I hope you enjoyed it. I just hope that they don't turn it into a pay-to-win mess, because that would be an utter shame. But until then, I've been the Cloaking Donkey, and I'll see you in another video!